Hello guys, my name is Amy and welcome to the highlights of the Chinese Grand Prix that I did on Friday. Don't worry if you missed it, everything will be covered in this video. So, bit of an interesting race, quite a few new people, and yeah, I think interesting to say the least. Kind of sums this race up. There is no Liam. He had a race ban, so unfortunately I had to carry McLaren, hopefully get as many points on the board as possible. But yeah, it's just a case of, same as always, try and keep my head down and do it best I can. So into qualifying. So into qualifying to start my first flying lap, and to say minimal practice before this race would be lying. I have had nothing. I've had no practice whatsoever before this race. Fortunately, I've been back to work this week. Well, I say unfortunately, I do love my job, but the past few races I've had time to practice, and this time I didn't get a chance to do that. It's a case of, I finished work, 6:30, got home, had some food. I did briefing this time, so obviously I had to be on and do my own little bit for briefing. But yeah, this is literally the first time I've been out on the track. So it's one of them, it's a little interesting getting used to the apexes. Horrendously choppy steering. Don't worry, I do get a little bit better. I did make a joke with Liam. Liam was still in the party, even though he wasn't actually racing. And I did kind of make a joke of, hang on a minute, how long is this race? I might have got to grips with the track by like 20. Turns out I think there'd be 28 laps, so I weren't far off. But yeah, it's one of them, understeering like mad as per usual, which does not surprise me. There's normally a bollard on that corner. I tend to hit it and someone's already beat me to it. But anyway, over the line, first lap, 9th. So with 3 minutes to go, I'm on a set of brand new soft tyres, horrendously mess up the last corner before I start another fast lap. Now, I am down in 12th. It's one of them, I knew I needed to get a decent lap in. Now, the first lap on the mediums weren't too bad. I did stay out, I did a couple of laps of basically just practice. One of them laps were a little bit quicker. Unfortunately not quick enough, hence why I'm now out on the softs. And as you can tell, I'm a little bit better on the steering. It's a case of, it might be quali, it's a short quali again because there's only 14 of us I think. So it's a case of, I'm purely just using this as practice. Clearly missed my braking zone, which again doesn't surprise me. But yeah, my steering's a little bit smoother on this lap because I've had a few laps to sort of wear myself in. Starting to find braking points a little easier, slightly less understeer, minus the slight going off, but it's fine. It wasn't a case of going off too much. Green Delta the entire lap. It's one of them, I concentrate so hard I do not talk to Liam for the entirety of this lap. It's a case of I concentrated, I've got people talking in chat, so Liam's sorting them out. But yeah, it's just like, concentration was immense. So yeah, over the line, and I'm 11th. So it's a case of, I've fueled up enough to do a couple of laps. Now obviously with a minute left, it was like, do I, don't I? And it doesn't start off well, but again, I just keep my head down. It's one of them, I think about doing another lap, But it's one of them. I just end up bitting and bobbing in and out of my delta. It's one of them. I keep with it, and by the time we come to the end of the lap, I'm still in green. I go wide a little bit. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of time, but I'm still slightly quicker over the line. And yeah, it's an interesting one. So I do start P12. It's a case of I outright beat other people. I've not started at the back. But, well, I do start at the back, but not like last. So it's one of them I can keep with my strategy of just watch the cars in front, wait for them to take each other out, and I just go through. So we'll see if that tactic works. So into the race, and unfortunately we don't get our 3 minutes that we're supposed to have to sort out strategies. So I start panicking and thinking, what the hell do I do? Now it's a case of 2-stop would probably be better for me, because it starts off on the softs, but it's one of them. I stick with the mediums, going on to the hards. So it's a case of just biding time at the end, mainly because the hard tyre are harder wearing. So it's a case of if people are on different strategies, I can just go past them when they're in the pits. So on to the formation lap, because we didn't have a formation lap last episode, and I don't think people realised. The guy in front just didn't go anywhere. So unfortunately, we're out of the formation lap again. I don't really like doing formation laps, to be honest. It's a case of the whole point in real life about formation laps is to get the teams and stuff out of the way. Obviously, we don't have teams that's on the track. We're just fine as we are. But it's one of them. Guy in front didn't know we went. He also ghosted at one point, so I did try to go through him. Basically, it was just a complete balls up, really. So, onto the proper race start, not just the formation lap. Lights out. I get a horrendous bad start. I don't know, I can't really remember why. But it's just carnage. I brake, and yeah, the guy behind me does go into the back of me. I do apologise. Hence the collision. I end up on the grass, and Iconic cuts me up. He goes into the side of me. I lose part of my front wing. He does get a post-match penalty of 5 seconds for that incident. But yeah, now I've got even less downforce and even more understeer. So it's one of them. Practicing is alright. Things like this you can't really practice for. Unfortunately, as that guy comes back on, I go into the side of him. He couldn't help that. I saw him go wide, but I didn't know he'd be able to come on that quick. And because I have literally no front wing now, I have to stop. I change strategies. Basically, I've got to start the race again. I'm not the only one with damage. It's a case of within them first couple of corners, so much bodywork was flying. It was unbelievable. But yeah, it's a case of I've lost my first front wing. On to lap 6, and I have managed to catch up with the guy that took off my front wing. So, luckily I catch up good enough to be able to get into slipstream, DRS activated, keep on the racing line, easy as you like, no problems there. He for some reason misses his braking point, so he goes straight into the back of me, and I think he's just frustrated. He ends up losing that much time. The guy behind me ends up overtaking him, so he's now in the pits. So I'm guessing he must have got front wing damage from going into the back of me. Not my problem, dude. It really isn't. As you can probably tell on the timing screen, I have got a 5-second penalty. Don't worry about that. Well, you can if you want to. I was speeding in the pit lane, basically. From the first lap, when I had to get a new nose. But yeah, it's one of them. I haven't got the hang of pit lane entries yet. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. So we're coming up to the end of lap 7, and someone has spawned just before the finish line. I'm guessing their front wing is over the track, hence safety car. Dioptric comes in, but he's way behind the incident, so he comes in. But yeah, it's a case of what's a league race without a safety car. End of lap 10, the safety car is coming in, so it's a case of sticking behind the guy that's in front. Now he is a new person, so it's one of them, new person in front, new person behind. I did manage to undercut Iconic in the pits. He smacks into the back of me again. No idea if he loses a front wing again. He probably did. I don't care. He seems to be an aggressive driver and I don't like him. He somehow bombs me down the inside, but proxy errors I use horrendously, so it's a case of I know where he is, I let him through. Well, I didn't let him through, it's a case of I gave him room, and I basically didn't want a restart that was as shenanigans as the first lap. So yeah, it's one of them. I didn't intend on letting him through. I did put up a battle. I've started being a bit more, a little bit more aggressive on my defending. It's one of them. I've found out sort of how people operate in this league, and I can sort of work around it. But unfortunately, Peter and Iconic are new for this race, so at this point I was just kind of waiting for Iconic to take Peter out and spin himself out or something. It's one of them, I didn't want to get collected in it, so I sort of hung back. Obviously DRS hasn't been enabled because of the safety car, so he can't use DRS down this straight. But it's one of them, I was just biding my time. Thought he was going to do something stupid. He goes horrendously wide, bits all over the floor, and unfortunately the Ferrari has an horrendous corner. He must have been hit by somebody. I'm guessing he's been hit by Zach, because Zach's come into the pits after all that. Iconic goes wide, so I go on the inside. Severe flashbacks from the first lap, but I make it stick. It's a case of we give each other room that time, so he didn't come and cut me up. It was a case of I use my proxy errors. I know they don't have them in real life, but it's one of them. I don't have my mirrors. I only have my rear view mirror and my proxy arrows, because I love this view. It's a case of it makes me feel a bit more immersed in the race. In hindsight, according to my brother, it's better being in TV pod, so I might be changing that for next race, purely so that I can actually see a bit more around me. It's a case of I can only just see sort of to the left and right of my tyres. I can't really see much in front. Unfortunately, Dioptric spins and comes back in front of me. Bless him, horrendously apologetic both in the Discord and in my stream chat. He dropped him during, and it's a case of he was just so apologetic all the time. He was even messaging in the chat to my brother saying, you know, can you apologise to your sister for ruining her race? It was not your fault, Dioptric. I will tell you that now. You just tried to come onto the track because you spun off. It was, you know, it was not your fault. Yeah, okay, I do have to come in for another front wing, but that's not a problem. It's a case of, you know, things like that are bound to happen when you have full damage on. But yes, not a bad pit stop. Completely messed up my tyre strategy. But yeah, gone on to the mediums because basically Jeff said to go on to the softs and do mediums after the softs. Well, I just went straight onto the mediums in a hope that I can make these tyres go to the end. It's one of them. I'm in P13, in a good chance to get a point potentially, but it's one of them. There's my tyres. I'm not aggressive on my tyres, so it's a case of, you know, I'm in clean air, I've got no one in front, no one behind. Keep my head down as per usual, don't muck it up, don't do anything stupid, and we shall get to the end of the race on these tyres. Lap 15, and Dioptric retires at the bottom of the map, just before the DRS zone, and the other yellow flag is Hugo. He has also DNF'd, bringing out another safety car. So it's one of them. People are just going off on the road. It's not like huge crashes cause the safety car to come out. But yeah, I have to pretty much grind to a halt because of my delta. Luckily I get back green before the timer, so I don't get a penalty for that one. But yeah, unfortunately, with all these DNFs and people now in the pits, I'm up to P12. It's one of them. My race on its own seems to be going well. Everyone else's seems to be going a little bit tits up. Obviously my race didn't start brilliantly. But yeah, let's hope that it can end a bit better. So the second safety car about to come in on lap 18, so it's a case of obviously everyone's bunched up again. Luckily the guy in front of me is relatively new. It's one of them, I give him space, it's not like I try and keep up. I never like restarts of safety cars. Dioptric going a bit wide again, but he's a back marker. It's a case of I get a little confused, hence why I was a little bit tentative, but he's ghosted because of being basically a lap down. I'm not sure 100% why he goes off. He retires, but yeah, it's just a case of he leaves the session, DNFs, and that's another person out of the race. Coming up to start lap 22, so only a handful of laps left, and yeah, when Jeff came up with the new strategy, when I ended up losing my second front wing, he wanted me to go onto the softs and then not onto the mediums, but I went straight onto the mediums. And my pit window's open, so it was a case of horrendous talks with Liam. Like I said earlier, Liam was still in my party chat, even though he wasn't in the race. So he was sort of my Jeff for the day. He was my engineer, and it was like, do I not? And it's one of them, I'm glad I didn't. It's a case of literally mathematically trying to figure out how long my tyres would last me. I was going between 3-4% grip level lap, so it was a case of 6-7 laps left, 4%, I'd be up to like 60% by the end of the race. So even though Jeff is trying to get me to come into the pits, I basically completely ignore him. I was working off of my temporary engineer for the day, plus my own initiative, and my tyre wear is fine, no need to come in. So it's a case of I just go to the end on these tyres. Unfortunately, at this point I'm thinking 11th, okay, we can potentially get a point here. The problem is Mirabeau behind me was gaining something like 3-4-5 seconds a lap on me. Obviously he's on the softer tyre, plus he's also horrendously good. His skill level is just way above mine. Like, well, my skill level hardly exists, but he is like pretty much a professional at this game. So unfortunately within a couple of laps he does catch me up, but I don't hold him up. He's also like one of the main guys of the league at this point. Unfortunately, because of what happens regarding incidents and incident uploads and outcomes and various things, he ends up just leaving the server. So I'm not sure what happened this race to basically piss him off, but I really don't know if we're ever going to see him, and it's going to be a real big shame because he's such an asset to these races. It's one of them, is going to be missed. On to the last lap of the race, and yeah, like I said earlier, Mirabeau does get past me. He's shot up the table. It's a case of he is just that good, he's just disappeared. But yeah, it's just unfortunately last lap I start 11th, 4 seconds behind Peter. No chance in hell being able to catch up with that guy. So unfortunately we stay 11th, and we're not going to get any worse, unfortunately, but we are last technically. Everyone sort of 12 down has retired from the race, so 11th, yeah, not too bad. It's a case of I kept my cool, I didn't do stupid things, I did damage a few front wings, but as per usual I have finished the race. A bit of a lonely last little bit of the race, so sort of second half I was sort of on my own, but that is fine by me. The less people I've got around me, the better, less chance of basically bashing into somebody. So yeah, as we go over the line, and there it is, finished 11th. And Duros, driver of the day. Now, we do vote for our driver of the day anyway, because that is game generated, it's not what the drivers want. So yeah, he did get driver of the day in this squad vote as well. But yeah, Ferrari are on a roll. This guy. So there we have it. 11th. A few people did have penalties post-race. A few people also got various in-game penalties took off as well. So for the final results, go over to any of my social pages. That'll give you the update on basically where everyone officially finished. Unfortunately, I don't change place. I stay 11th. Right then, guys. So that was China. Not one of my better races, we'll put it that way. The start could have been a lot better. Unfortunately, I got a feeling most of the races are going to potentially start like that because we are on full damage, and a lot of people in this league are quite aggressive. So it's probably going to be a regular occurrence. We did end up having a few other little, I wasn't minor collisions. So obviously the one with the Renault, and there was also a Mercedes, both of them coming back on track and I effectively going into the side of them. Things like that are pretty much unavoidable. You're going at high speed and they're pretty slow. But anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, please leave it a like rating. If you're new around here, if you could subscribe as well, that would be even better. Next to the subscribe button is a little bell. That's for notifications. That'll let you know when I upload. Obviously, Fridays are my normal episode days, as well as when these races are live. So feel free to join me about 8:10 on Fridays over on Twitch. The next race will be Spain. So I'll see you then, guys. Bye.